Welcome everybody. First things first, as always, if I could just please get a quick audio visual check, please. Just let me know you can see my charts clearly, you can hear me, just kind of making sure that I'm not sitting here talking to myself because that has happened in the past. So hopefully nothing's muted. Hopefully you can hear me clearly. 100x short gang, LFG. We'll see about that. But how are you guys all doing? How are you enjoying this nice little bounce that the market got today? Those of you in my Telegram were aware that I did actually end up taking a hedge long. Unfortunately, I only took 20% profits before the rest got stopped at break even. I did adjust my stop loss a little bit too early, but that's okay. But yeah, nice refreshing bounce. I'll talk about a few levels that I want to watch currently. Sound delightful. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. So thank you so much. Right on. Thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully you're all having a fantastic day, you guys. Yeah. I mean, like I said, Bitcoin has seen a nice little bounce here. We are starting to face a little bit of resistance. We've broke a couple structure levels and that sort of thing. So, you know, I do want to talk about the good and the bad on the charts that I see. I want to talk about a few different levels on a few different time frames that I'm looking at. Yeah, so basically, let's get right into it, guys. Obviously, I did just stream yesterday, so not much has changed on the macro. Actually, nothing has changed. The monthly still looks like absolute trash to me. The weekly chart still looks like trash. Yeah, it makes sense that you guys, I mean, this happens basically every week. It's very natural, especially when we get such a strong bearish close like this. It would be very natural to climb up and just retest some of this candle body before. If this was a 1 minute chart or a 5 minute chart, even a 1 hour or 4 hour chart, nobody would second guess that happening. Everybody would come to terms that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that you're testing into your previous candle. The weekly is no different. I always say that, you know, I treat the weekly just like any other time frame because at the end of the day, you guys, structure is structure. So yeah, a little bit of a bounce makes sense. The 4 hour, I actually did like this setup, you guys. Full disclosure, I kind of wish I still had that position open. I wish I wouldn't have adjusted my stop loss quite so quickly, but that, you know, Captain Hindsight can be a bit of a jerk sometimes. But guys, I mean, we are getting into resistance already. I do want to make that clear, and I know I have made it clear that we've tested this support level down here a few times, and even much earlier, right after we got that little pump, we came back, tested the Stuber fib, and I've been quite vocally, I guess, just quite vocal about this in the past several streams, the past week or two, that, you know, I have less faith in this long setup now that we've tested this support level a few times. The reason why I did end up taking a hedge long yesterday was because of this swing fail. The fact that we actually closed our candle bodies above this support level down here. And we actually ended up closing a green 4 hour candle. So it looks a little bit, you know, like a double bottom. We get our little bit of a liquidity grab. So we have a nice tight invalidation if we want to get into that sort of a setup, right? And also I can pull this Stuber fib from here. And notice that it never would have got invalidated with the 115 there either. So just another reason kind of lining up that, yeah, when we closed that green candle there and confirming a bit of a swing fail there, it made sense that you could get into a long position with a nice tight stop invalidated below the 115. And also we already had that liquidity grab. So just furthering my argument that, you know, it makes sense that we could got a bounce from there. Right now, you guys, on the very immediate term, you know, just since we basically topped out here after hitting my bullish Stuber target from down here, hitting my target up here. Ever since that, basically, we've been trending to the downside, right? We just keep setting lower lows and lower highs. And right now we are getting very close to the immediate swing. Like I said, just the immediate one. We're getting very close to that lower high resistance because here on the trend is where we had our low and we have our lower low. Here is our confirmed lower high because it's the highest point between the two. So that is definitely a level of interest for me. If I was still in this long, I would be taking profits on it. I've been taking a couple of scalp shorts at these levels. Most of them have been getting stopped at break even after very small profits, just kind of like what I did on the swing fail there. But I'm hoping one of them runs here. And my reasoning for that, like I said, we do have this lower high resistance on the very micro trend, right? Yes, it looks like the bulls do have some strength. So understand this, you guys. Any positions I'm taking at this point, like the truth is, I mean, we have dumped off a cliff. We've had very strong selling pressure in the last couple of weeks here. And, we're starting to get to that point where it's a little bit late to be looking for shorts. But honestly, with how I stand on the macro trend, I am still quite bearish overall. So I'm still looking to play those shorts. It's just that I'm very aware of the risks involved. And that's why I am very quick to close a quarter to a half of my position and update my stop loss. And if the rest gets stopped out at break even, that's totally fine. I still made money, even though I was wrong in that case. But we're just going, that's basically how I'm rolling for now. I'm still favoring the downside. But I am not blind to being at support levels, right? So that's just why basically moving forward, I'm being very cautious and just basically removing my risk as quickly as possible. So basically what we have right now, just looking at, like I said, the microstructure on the 4-hour here, if we pull a fib from our lower high down to our lower low, I mean, we are trading right in that Stuber fib pocket right now. Our candle bodies, we basically tested the 886 very slightly higher, but our candle bodies are closing right in there. To me, it's nice to see that we got a little bit of a bounce, but understand that we are now already trading into resistance. If we do end up breaking this level, that's where things get a little bit more interesting for the bulls and where I think we could get a little bit more follow through, because on the actual trend, like this fib pull right here, this is just the micro trend, right? It's just the very immediate swing that we're currently running downwards on. So the thing is, with the actual structure and looking for what I'm going to consider more of a valid Stuber fib, would be the fact that we had our low back here and we have our lower low back here, which means our lower high on the trend is actually way up here around 95,000, basically right at 95,000. So here's the thing, as far as chasing the trend, we are at resistance again, but understand, if we take out this micro resistance here, this lower high on the trend, understand that at that point, I wouldn't be trying to reshort this resistance and, every resistance level on the way. I would be more so under the impression that we're going to test higher up into the range. And in that case, I would be looking at fib pull. The next bearish super fib I would see would be something like this. I think it makes a lot of sense if we take out this lower high around 84.1K, as long as we can hold and, flip that resistance into support. I think it makes a lot of sense that we would go up to 91K, if not even higher, you guys. Honestly, there is a lot of liquidation levels, basically right up to almost 100K, call it 99K. There is a lot of high leverage liquidation levels up there. So that is something that's been on my radar for a couple of weeks at this point already. It's just the bulls have not been able to push us up there. So every time they fail, there's going to be more liquidation levels building up to that point. So eventually, I feel like it's only a matter of time till we do get that nice push to the upside. And then you're going to see the FOMO posts on social media and that sort of stuff. Everyone's going to get full of hopium again. And that's when we can start shorting again quite comfortably. But we're going to have to see what happens. So basically, if we do take out this resistance that we're pretty much at right now, we're at least at the start of it, right? Being we're in the 786, 886 fib pocket. If we break the micro range, then we have this actual range in place, so that the bulls would still not be in the clear, because this is the more important lower high, in my opinion, right around 95K. So yeah, it's absolutely possible that we see a further bounce from here, but we're going to have to see. Like I said, we're starting to see some weakness in the trend. We broke this uptrend here. We actually, my Algo Master indicator, it wouldn't show it right now because it's updated since, but it actually did have a fib pull right here as well. Just because, again, we end up breaking the structure. That's this yellow line here, because we basically set high, higher high. Here's our lowest point between the two. We end up breaking that level, and then we pull back up to that 786 and get rejected. So a beautiful Stuber setup there. Honestly, I missed that one, but I did notice when I brought up that indicator, it did have it laid out like that. So unfortunately, I never saw that. I did get in one here. basically this immediate micro trend here. Again, we had our high, higher high, lowest point between the two is here. We end up breaking that. What ends up happening then? Pulling a fib from the highest point there, and we test the 786 and we start dumping from there. So again, another just kind of more of a scalp setup there. I have taken some profits on that one already. Stop losses at break even again, because like I said, even though I'm getting into these scalps short and stuff like that, I am very aware of the risks involved with shorting at these levels. So I just want to remove that risk as quickly as possible. And, you know, if a position ends up running from here, absolutely fantastic. You know, I've got into some very nice positions in the last few weeks, some very nice short positions by doing just that, looking for those structure breaks on a smaller time frame, getting into a scalp entry, and then, you know, having half the position run, for example. I've got some very nice positions that way in the last few weeks. So that's what I'm basically aiming for now that we are starting to test 4-hour resistance levels again. Again, yes, the bulls look strong, but we are in fact getting up to that resistance again. So just something to be cautious of. Those are really the main levels I wanted to bring to your attention, guys, is basically just because, again, just to really drill this home, because when I pull fibs, and I kind of explain it a little bit in some of my educational videos in my Telegram channel, is that basically, you know, how do I know where to pull the fibs from? And if it fails, where do I pull the next one from? Here's a perfect example that, yes, I would be pulling one right here, right now, because that is the micro trend. But if it breaks, I'm not interested in any of these other levels until where did this downtrend actually start? The last time we actually got a reversal was up here. So that's where I'd pull my next one from. So yeah, as it stands right now, I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised to see us get a bounce at this point. The fact that here, let me just get rid of these colors just so it's a little easier for those who aren't used to seeing those colors. Kind of the same thing here, right? On the 1 minute chart is on this swing, you know, on this immediate swing to the downside. Basically, this would have been our low. This was a lower low. Here's our lower high. Notice we ended up taking out that structure. So now it makes sense that, you know, it would make a lot of sense to me that we would test back up to the top of this little range here, right? Looking at something like that. Honestly, I even have my concerns with that because I think it's very likely we would test the entire swing. You know, testing the fib pocket up here, back kind of bouncing towards around 83.4 up towards 83.5, somewhere in there. I think makes a lot of sense that we could end up pumping back up there. But we're just going to have to see what happens, right? But that's basically how I look to pull my fibs. And, you know, when one structure level is broken, how I look at the next, just to kind of know where to start lining up for a next potential entry kind of a thing. Mystical, thanks so much, bro. I appreciate all the comments that I've been seeing on all my videos and stuff. I truly appreciate you as well. So it doesn't go unnoticed. Love to hear that you're appreciating my content and hopefully learning something from this, right? You guys, for those of you who do appreciate my content, you appreciate me showing my personal favorite trading strategies and that sort of stuff, and just keeping a level head in this market with this such uncertain times and so much craziness going on around the world right now from all angles. If you appreciate the level-headed approach, do me a favor, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss these streams. Because we're going over some good stuff in a lot of these. Again, this is going to be a shorter stream here. I just had basically those few levels I really wanted to point out to you. And as well on the shorter time frames here, I do want to start to actually, you know what, I'll start on the 4 hour as well, taking a look at a few indicators. Let's start with the Algo Master. So notice it also printed out that bullish Stuber fib that I was talking about earlier. Again, it already played out once here up to the second target there. So it is what it is, but it's nice to see that as added confluence, this MDX Algo Master indicator did agree with that. So I love having a second opinion like that. Let's just get rid of that, bring up the Trend Master indicator. You guys, this is something that I've warned about quite often with this indicator, is when we have trending sell and buy signals. And notice that right now we have a very aggressive trend to the downside. We have a series of lower buy signals, buy, lower buy, sell, lower sell, absolutely nuked us, lower sell. I mean, we did nuke again, but we're going to have to see what happens here. That's just added confluence, right? As I was just talking about the fact that we are at lower high resistance. Notice that my trend master indicator on the 4-hour is showing resistance at the exact same level. So a little bit of wiggle room to the upside for a little bit of a liquidity grab if we get there. But it's basically pointing out the same thing that I'm pointing out. So again, added confluence that I really do think this is an important level of resistance for the very near term. So it's definitely worth paying attention to. Volume delta, well, I mean, the point of control is way up higher, above 96,000. So that's not in play anytime soon. Liquidation band, notice that's above us too. So guys, basically, here's my point. When we really zoom out and look at Bitcoin on any time frame, well, any mid to long-term time frame, no matter what happens, even when we get these nice refreshing bounces, Bitcoin just has a shit ton of resistance up ahead. There is, if we just bounce for a few hours, even a day or two, understand, yes, the influencers out there instantly start calling for, oh, it was a bear trap. We are, the bottom is in and all that sort of stuff. Understand just how much resistance is up ahead. Every indicator I bring up, all my favorite indicators, they all have resistance. I'm pointing out, the naked chart, just, naked levels of resistance, basic technical analysis with or without indicators. There's just so much resistance up ahead. Really, like I said, the only thing keeping me well, I shouldn't say quite, any sort of optimistic for the bulls is just the fact that we have so many liquidations up higher. But honestly, the way that, I can look up the long short ratio here, Binance retail is almost 75% long, you guys. In my opinion, these bounces, the market makers are just waiting to soak up that liquidity and just absolutely nuke on retail. That's just kind of how I'm seeing it right now. Happy to be wrong about that. If we start invalidating my weekly signs, like I've said in the last several videos, if we break this weekly RSI divergence, in that case, I will be bullish again. I promise you guys, I will at least consider being bullish. No, not even consider. I will be bullish until proven otherwise at that point. But since that hasn't happened, and I've been warning about this since Christmas, just since nothing's changed in the charts yet, I just can't flip my opinion too quickly here. So yeah, AI charting tools, what can we find here? Daily open, we obviously just opened about 5 minutes ago. The March open above us. Notice the March open is also just right above us, right at that same horizontal resistance, right where the trend master has resistance there. There's a lot of things lining up just above Bitcoin right now. So we are by no means in the clear with this bounce, you guys. Just understand that, like I said, anytime we're getting these nice little bounces, they're quickly getting shot down. So we're going to have to see. I can't be overly bullish. Again, I'm totally open to the idea of being cautiously bearish. Understand that's very different. I am not saying, do something silly like 100x short right now from this exact level. Nothing like that. I am just saying that, be open to the idea that this market does not have to be bottomed yet. I know I've pointed out that I have targets significantly lower. That does not mean we have to hit those targets. We can break structure and change that at any time and start going to the upside again. But if it just as a typical Stuber fib, if this chart was a 1 minute or a 5 minute, I would be expecting us to come down to this purple box. And unfortunately, in this case, it's down from 63,000 down to 56,000. It is significantly lower than we are right now. So again, we don't have to get there, but that has been a target of mine for a little while. So something to consider there as well. I do just want to catch up on the chat a little bit here, guys. Let me know how you're all doing. I probably won't do any altcoin requests today. I will be wrapping up here fairly soon. But yeah, I just want to catch up here. I'm basically going to start looking at indicators on the shorter time frame as well in a second. Let me get it nice and bright and colorful for you guys. And you know what? I'm even going to get some gentle tunes playing here. Let's go. What do we want here? Some lounge music. very quiet, so let me know if it's too loud, if it's annoying you, anything like that. We'll just get the display while I check out a few things here. I'll catch up on the chat, and I will dive into the 1 minute, see if any indicators are saying anything cool here. Let me just get that a little quieter here. Did I look at the weekly? Just now I just did. I did mention it a little bit more so earlier. I didn't want to spend too much time on the weekly, you guys, just because I have been talking about the weekly so much in my recent streams. But yeah, nothing has changed. I still got this nasty divergence. The high frequency trading bots are still pushing the downside. We still have this nasty reversal on the Wave Master. Structure was broken to the downside. There's just so many things wrong with the weekly chart, and the fact that the monthly chart also lost this support, this order block here, flipping it into resistance. That just, that monthly chart looks even worse than the weekly. Yeah, it's in rough shape, honestly. But anything can happen, right? Like I said, as soon as we break this RSI divergence, at that point, I'm going to get bullish again. Notice that it happened down here. Same thing, right? We ended up, what did we, from our all-time highs here, how far did we end up dumping on this move? About 30% to the downside. And notice when I was bearish last time, you guys, which was back in summer, many of you guys may remember this, but we very much so got the same thing, right? We had the same RSI divergence. We ended up correcting 30% to the downside, literally the exact same signal, the same percent move, everything. So you know what? Maybe that's all this move had. It's just that this one has extra confluence, you know. Like I said, Wave Master, big old overextended reversal warning there. The trend dynamic indicator also had a reversal warning up here. See, with the AI charting tools on the weekly, since we have a higher low printed right here, that's another reason why I would pull a Fibonacci from that level. So that's actually strengthening my argument for a Stuber Fib pull on a macro time frame like that. So I still think we can go lower. Again, we don't have to, but I'm just seeing reasons why we could. Trendmaster, this is one thing that I actually consider quite bullish, is the fact that we are still holding this buy trend on the weekly time frame with my Trendmaster indicator. I will give credit where credit is due. You know, it's very possible we find support here. It's just that, you know, I really like to basically, you know, take the pros and cons of a setup, kind of weigh out my options, sort of a thing. So just because, and understand, guys, even though I've been quite bearish, I want to be a moon boy. I would love for my altcoin bags to recover and stuff like that, you guys. But I'm not going to be blinded by the fact that I want things to be bullish. Therefore, I'm going to grab onto anything bullish I see. I'm sure a lot of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about because you see so many people do that. The thing is, there's so many red flags on this weekly chart, and I can really only find one or two things on the weekly chart that can make me try and be bullish. You know, another thing to consider here, liquidations band on the weekly, significantly lower than the price right now. I am not saying we're going to hit this level, but understand this indicator has been great at calling bear market bottoms. And again, who knows if we're in a bear market, right? It is early to say that. I see reasons why we could be in a bear market, but that doesn't mean we have to be. But, you know, this is something to watch for. There's a lot of liquidations significantly lower, and that could be something to watch for, especially if we start losing serious support levels. You know, all of a sudden we just end up nuking right through this box for whatever reason. At that point, I mean, I'm basically going to be setting limit orders, you know, on the way down towards this liquidation band, because I don't think that we would get a lot of time hovering around that level. I have a feeling that if we got there in some sort of a weird liquidation, black swan, whatever, capitulation, whatever kind of a move, if it happens, you know, I think a lot of people are going to be scared and say, I want to see what happens, and they're going to miss their entries. So basically, if we start dropping my significant support levels, I'm just going to start setting limit orders just so, if I catch my fishing orders, great. If not, I can always reevaluate later. But yeah, a lot of red flags on the weekly, but anything is possible. Like I said, first thing I'm looking for is that RSI to break. When that happens, I think it's an early warning sign that we continue to the upside, just like we did back here, right? Call it right about there, even give it a little extra room there. Anywhere in here was basically where we ended up breaking that RSI divergence. And from there, we were okay to continue to the upside. But understand, we paused this trend, this signal here. We paused this trend for 8 months, you guys. That was a very serious consolidation. So just because we went to the upside does not mean that it was wrong to be bearish in this range. I played some very great shorts in that area, just like I've been playing some very great shorts in this area. If we end up going to the upside because we end up breaking this, for example, then at that point, I can just start looking for long positions, longing pullbacks and that sort of thing at that time. But right now, it's just a little bit early for me to be flipping bullish is all. 5-day candle. That's an interesting one that I've never looked at before. Oh yeah, lots of people saying smash that like button. Thank you so much, guys. I truly appreciate you guys being here with me. I love just, it helps me keep a level head by being able to talk myself through my own emotions while I'm looking at the charts. I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the support. So if you do appreciate my content, please do me a favor, hit that like button like they said. I've learned more from you than any crypto class I've ever taken from any other YouTuber. Thank you so much. That honestly means the world to me. I appreciate it so much, Mystical. S&P 500 so oversold. I'll actually take a look at that in a sec as well. Yesterday, watched the 1 minute NVIDIA, Tesla, S&P, QQQ, BTC all dump in unison with no dry powder for BloFin. Inverse Tesla and MSTR 2X ETFs did well in the TFSA. So I got another 1 minute trader in the house, do I? I love to see it, Farmer. Yeah, let's take a look at the S&P. I'm just going to bring it up here. SPX. So oversold. Room on the weekly for down. Let's check a few different time frames. Oh, I don't remember when I made this trend line, but it dropped a very serious trend line. So here's my problem with the S&P 500, you guys. A lot of you guys know where I'm going to go with this already, but there's a potential Stuber fib forming here, and it would be of the bearish variety because we technically have this high. We set a slightly higher high. Here was our higher low. We broke that structure. And on top of that, we broke my diagonal structure. So at that point, I would be looking for a fib pull, something like that. If we bounce, I would be looking at something like that. And honestly, it would even line up with Stuber fib and a possible support resist flip of the diagonal trend line. So yes, although I agree, it could absolutely bounce at any time here. But just understand that serious structure was broken from a couple different angles there. And that could be bad for the longer term, even if there is a short-term recovery. Let's look at the Wave Master here. So notice we have the high-frequency trading bots are pushing the downside for the last couple of weeks here. That's a bearish point there. Same thing. We got this nasty bearish divergence on the RSI going from overextended conditions down to regular territory. Yeah, it took a lot longer for it to play out on this chart than it did on Bitcoin, but that's the same kind of reversal, right? Where we get that overextended conditions, we just end up dropping, losing that strength, forming that divergence. Now with the high frequency trading bots pushing the downside, it just started dumping off a cliff. So again, same thing. If we end up breaking this kind of a trend line on the RSI, I think it'll be in good shape. I do want to check the daily as well, like you had mentioned. Ooh. So I would say on the immediate trend, actually, let me get rid of these colors just so I can point it out. I would say that there is a lower high on the micro trend right here, because that's the last place we found support, formed a little high, and continued the dump to the downside. So there is resistance forming on the downside already. High frequency trading bots pushing the downside quite aggressively. The RSI, here is my concern with the RSI. The RSI is in oversold conditions. I will give it that. And, you know, the RSI hasn't gone this low very often, basically. Whenever it happens, usually there's some sort of a bounce. Not always, like here. Obviously, yeah, we got a bounce, but we ended up continuing to the downside. You know, it happens, but I do see reasons why I agree with that. You know, on the daily, that RSI is getting oversold. Here's the problem. Back at these levels, whenever we were testing that oversold RSI, we were actually in an uptrend. And when those were happening, I mean, in an uptrend, yes, that means we're oversold. If we are actually in a downtrend, and especially if we're actually forming a bear market here, if the RSI goes over into oversold conditions, what that could actually mean is just that there's a shit ton of selling pressure. So that can be misunderstood. And honestly, right now, I don't know which it is. That is just something to pay attention to. I don't follow the S&P all that closely, not near as closely as Bitcoin or anything like that. So I don't know how it typically acts. I'm just kind of ballparking it from what I see here at a quick glance. But yeah, you know what? I agree. At least it is getting towards those levels. I would rather see, what I would like to see is actually the exact opposite of what I was pointing out on Bitcoin's weekly chart. Is I would like to see the S&P do something like this, where it even goes a little bit further, and we do something like this. And we see the RSI drop even lower, and then get some sort of here, let me just, there we go, picked the wrong one there. So if it drops a little bit lower, we go a little bit higher and form some sort of a bullish divergence with a double bottom rather than a bearish divergence with a double top. At that point, I would be quite bullish on this chart. Sorry if you can hear my cat losing her shit. I don't know what's going on out there. But yeah, basically that would be the exact opposite of the weekly chart on Bitcoin, why I was so bearish. And that would lead me to be quite bullish, because that's a very specific divergence that I've done a lot of back testing on. So that's the thing, you guys. While everybody's in full panic mode while the market's doing all this stuff and everyone's blaming all sorts of fundamentals and that sort of thing, understand that I've been bearish since we were down here, and I said we were going for a double top bearish divergence, because that's a very specific chart pattern that I have back tested a lot with this replay feature on TradingView, which is a very handy feature. And honestly, everybody, before putting any money on any trades, you should at least have some sort of an idea what your probabilities are of playing out. And that goes for using other people's strategies, using your own, just kind of making sure that you're looking at things properly and that you're getting the results that you want before you're throwing money on the trades. And the fact that I did backtest several years worth of Bitcoin charts with that exact divergence, that's exactly why I felt confident about my decision there. And that's exactly why I would feel confident if the daily did something like this on the S&P 500. And I would be very likely to be bullish on it at that case, at least until that changed. Same thing. I would be looking for a break of that divergence to flip my opinion again, basically, right? So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the S&P. I agree. It's starting to look oversold, but just, we're going to have to see how structure actually forms, because it's not like we've broken a lower high on the trend or anything like that yet. 5-day candle on Bitcoin. I will look at the 5-day. Like I said, it's not something I have ever looked at, so I don't know, I've never back tested or anything, but again, structure is structure. How do I add a custom? Let's go days 5. That's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. but let's do it. Let's remove all my drawings. Let's remove my indicators. Start with a naked chart on the 5-day here. I mean, I see the same thing that I saw on the weekly, basically the exact same thing. You know, we had this high, slightly higher high slash. Here's another thing to consider, guys, is whether you want to call this a higher high, whatever, and then breaking the lows. So we actually broke structure there. On top of that, we also would have had this swing fail, right? So we did go slightly higher, grabbed a little bit of liquidity above that resistance, and then got rejected. So, and even you could even do that on the candle bodies, is we got rejected at the same spot. So yeah, that basically fits the whole double top type of situation, basically something like that, right? So a swing fail, double top, that same RSI divergence, you guys, the exact same. Normally I don't have my second line on there. Let me just remove my moving average on the RSI. But again, just notice that we have that exact same bearish divergence that I've been talking about. So again, I want to see that trend line basically broken before I start getting bullish on this trend again. Brian, hey pal, having a late one on a school night. However, I'll admit I enjoy bear porn. Well, bear porn, that's the you're at the right place. Nice little bear porn bedtime story. It looks like the price might go down or might go up again. Honestly, that is correct. And I honestly don't I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, because a lot of people will say, oh, you're saying it could go up or it could go down. Honestly, if you're ever listening to a trader, it should be one who says that it could go up or could go down. If you're, you know, you never want to listen to somebody who sounds like they are so confident they are unwilling to be wrong about something, and they're just willing to double down on their incorrect theories, that sort of thing. Because the thing is with trading, it's way more important to be able to react, and your execution is so much more important than predicting, right? I would way rather listen to a trader who says, if the price does this, this is how I'm going to react. If the price does that, this is how I'm going to react. Very different than just saying, hey, this has to be where we're topping out. I'm not willing to accept any other situations. That's not a good mindset to have, because the market does not give a shit about our opinions. And we do need to be able to adjust our opinions on the go. So yeah. And another thing to consider, and I know I say this in most of my streams, you guys, but we could have the same charts, same indicators, same settings, same trend lines, same levels mapped out, absolutely everything completely the same. And I promise you, we would trade the market completely different. So all that matters at the end of the day, when it comes down to you trading, all that matters is your execution plan and actually having a strategy that you can replicate, basically, something that you can do over and over rather than just trading with a gut feeling, right? And guys, that's actually something I know some of you guys are in my free Telegram channel. For those of you who do just like technical analysis, you know, you're more interested in trading based on the charts rather than tweets and fundamentals. And, you know, you just want to stay one step ahead of the markets based entirely on that price action, no emotions attached. And you just want, you know, more of my thoughts on the market and that sort of thing. Do yourselves a favor, scan that QR code on the screen, or click the link down below, follow the steps in the description. We've been crushing it in the Telegram channel. None of this price action should have really come as too much of a surprise for you guys. And on top of that, guys, people who are in my Telegram channel, for my followers, new and existing, my partners at BloFin are currently giving a sweet promotion with some real awesome trading bonuses here. So if that is also something that if you end up signing up, so if that's something that interests you, like I said, QR code on the screen or the steps in the description down below. On top of that, guys, This is actually a public video. I know I've said this in many streams, but the Stuber Fibs video, this is a public one. It's on the Financial Summit's YouTube page. It's also pinned to my Twitter page, StuTube Trading, all one word. So you can get a basic rundown of the Stuber Fib strategy. For those of you in the Telegram, this video here is pinned in the comments. Do yourselves a favor and check that out. It goes way more in depth in how I look at structure, how I recognize ranges when I'm pulling my fibs and that sort of thing. That is only available to those of you in my Telegram channel. So if that is something that interests you guys, get in there, scan the QR code. 82.9, getting a little bounce here. Yeah, like I said, this micro trend, we did break this resistance here. Let me just turn off the colors, see if I spot anything different here. Even since then, so we set a higher high and we set another higher high. So this would be our higher low on the micro trend. And actually, there would have been a nice little scalp there, right? That Stuber Fib technically played out. Yes, it's a small one, but it did play out. We got right down to my 886. Target 1, this is the 0.5 fib. Target 2 is the 214 fib. Small range, but the way I trade, you guys, I always trade the range first, and then I hope for a breakout with the rest of my position. So basically, the smaller the range that I'm looking at playing means that the profits are going to be closer and smaller, but that means the invalidation is also going to be smaller, so the losses are smaller. So it really depends on your trading style and basically what kind of position you're looking for, right? What kind of range you're actually looking to play. But yeah, it just goes to show that eventually you start to see them everywhere, right? I mean, I joke about this all the time. I start to see them in, trees that are different heights, buildings that are different height, friends that are different heights. I see the Stuber Fibs everywhere now, whether it's big ranges, it's smaller ranges inside those ranges, et cetera, et cetera. So again, if you want to learn more about those, you know where you need to be. Okay, let me just catch up on some more chat again real quick here. How do you get your candles like this? I assume you mean when they're all colorful like this. This is actually one of the MDX algo indicators. There is also a 10% discount down below if that's something that interests you. A handful of beautiful indicators, by the way. Basically, the RSI is the only other indicator I use, but other than that, there's over a dozen wonderful indicators that do different things. I only use a handful of them that I should bring up on these streams, but I know a lot of people who do use some of the other ones as well and love them. So this one, all I use for is the colors, just because I freaking love the way it looks. Dog surf, that's funny. Somebody check on the "you're not going to see 94K again" guy. I remember that stream happening. That was where were we trading? We were on, actually, let me reload this chart because I just realized I'm still on the 5-day here. Let's get back to the 4-hour. Get rid of some of these indicators. And I remember that exact thing happening was when I was streaming right here on this channel. It was right before we got this dump to the downside, and I was told we would not see 94K again. Well, we saw significantly lower, almost $20,000 lower. So hopefully he's okay. Oh, Brian, it's morning for you. Well, good morning, good sir. It's evening for me, but and Gary, good to see you here as well. And everybody in here, of course. Thank you so much for being here with me, guys. Dead cat bounce, probable levels. I guess that would be those 4-hour levels, like I mentioned. I think we're at a level to be cautious right now. I think we're at resistance. If we end up breaking this resistance around 84.1, I think it's very possible that we test higher into the range, which actually starts closer to 95K. So even if we get up towards 95, hell, even 97, 98 could be a swing fail at that resistance level. Actually, I just want to check auto charting tools. Yeah, even the fact that we have a lower high printed there with my auto charting tools indicator. Again, just another second opinion that I love to see that additional confluence there. So again, I think that 95K is a very important level if we get back up there. MDX algo, that must be the highest priced. That must be a lifetime membership with mentorships and stuff like that. Brian, learning a lot from me on various fib levels. Love to hear it, bro. That is fantastic. And honestly, guys, the thing that I really love about using these Fibonacci levels is that I need something simple. And like I said earlier, basically you want something that you can replicate and, something that's systematic. And when you start pulling trend lines and stuff like that, don't get me wrong. I like looking at trend lines. I have certain strategies I use with trend lines as well. But there's a lot of room for interpretation there. A lot of people will pull their trend lines with wicks. A lot of people will go from candle bodies. A lot of people will go from average touch points, and especially once you start getting into average, like where the most touch points are and stuff. There's so many wicks that are going beyond those levels and stuff. So how do you set a proper stop loss? There's just room for a lot of things to go wrong when you really start getting complicated with things. And that's why I love pulling Fibonacci's, because it's just, you know what, here's my swing. Hey, I had a break in structure. This is the pivotal point for the current range, which I talk about in that video in my Telegram. And from there, basically looking for that fib retrace rather than trying to play a breakout and, shorting into support or longing into resistance, for example. It's just a way to minimize your losses, keep things, because that's the thing too. Not only is it keeping it systematic and having a trade strategy with generally a good risk reward set up in place, but that's just it, right? It's also controlling those losses, because every trade setup has losses. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I don't lose trades. It happens, it happens to all of us. There's no trader that doesn't lose trades. Other than maybe Nancy. Other than that, though, I mean, it's about controlling those losses and keeping your emotions under control and that sort of thing. And that's where I find fibs really help me. Charts with full countdown indicators. What do you mean by full countdown indicators? Like the countdown on the candles? I do like those. As far as, okay, so good question. Once I sign up and follow the steps to access the channel, if I make withdrawals and leave a balance under the initial 300, can I still be in the channel, or must I always maintain the 300? So here's the thing, guys. To be in my Telegram, you need to move that 300 USDT into your futures account, and you have to actually be trading. After a certain point, if you are an inactive trader, you're no longer an active trader beneath me, and you will be removed. Just like if you try and deposit $300 and remove it right away, you will also be removed from the channel. So just understand that is a part of it. So for my efforts, because quite honestly, you guys, I spend a lot of time in there. And I know for people who just read the posts rather than actually writing them, thinking about them, explaining them and all that sort of things, a lot of time does go into it out of my day. And just rather than charging people for a VIP type of a thing, which a lot of traders do, I feel better about letting you guys in there for free. And I just take a cut from my partners at the exchange. So I would rather take a cut from them rather than you. So that's kind of the whole incentive there. So if you do appreciate what I'm doing, you want to learn more from me, then to show your support, show your support through the affiliate link kind of a thing. So, but yeah, I'm very active in there, posting in there every day, just my thoughts on the market in general, some of my trade setups that I'm looking for, and some of that sort of stuff as well. Again, guys, if that is something that interests you, you just want to learn more about technical analysis. I'm a charts guy. I like drawing colorful lines and trading them. I don't care about the fundamentals. I don't care about who's tweeting what. None of that matters to me. I will never trade on fundamentals ever again. I haven't done that for years. I am trading on the charts. And if that's something that you want to be more interested in, just learning how I look at structure, how I pull my fibs and all that sort of thing, you guys sign up to join my Telegram there with the QR code on the screen. Tesla dropped like a rock yesterday, stalled and rose today. Tesla gonna dead cat bounce after second gap fill, and I think Bitcoin will follow well above 84. Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't doubt that. Like I said, I do see reasons why we would go higher up into this range, get FOMO building again and that sort of stuff, creating more liquidity to the downside. I absolutely agree that it could happen. It's just important to recognize that as far as risk reward goes, we're more so at an immediate resistance level rather than support. Yes, down here, I think it was a great long opportunity. And if you did end up, especially those of you guys in the Telegram, if you ended up taking that swing fail there that I mentioned last night, hopefully you're still in it, unlike me, but it is what it is. I wouldn't really be looking to long into this resistance at this point. Even if we break out, guys, I've been so bearish on the macro timeframes here. I have had no FOMO for this market. I don't care what's happening, fundamentally and otherwise. I've had no FOMO, no desperation to really start getting desperate and longing everything that I see. If I end up missing a trade, I end up missing a trade, right? If we end up breaking to the upside, I have spot holdings, That's the thing, is a lot of people think that if we go to the upside, I'm going to get wrecked because I'm bearish. That's not at all how this works. If we go to the upside and we just break out and go on a moon mission, my spot bags are going to be very happy. The only reason I'm bearish is because that's the direction I'm more so favoring on my trading side of things. I treat leverage trading and spot holding and investments very different from one another. So you have to understand that. I'm more of a trader myself, but I do have my investments that I just hold on to long time. Throw some of my short profits into dollar cost averaging in and that sort of stuff. I'm doing all that, you guys. It's not that I'm bearish on crypto as a whole. I'm just bearish on what's happening in the economy right now and open to the idea of downside. BloFin 8 your 350 USDT because you ignored the Telegram alert. I'm not sure what you mean by they ate it, but if you're having any issues, you can contact the Financial Summit Telegram handle, and they should be able to help you out because they have direct contact to both me and the BloFin reps and stuff like that. So if you do have any issues, feel free to reach out to them and they can handle that back end stuff for you. So here's an example, the Algo Master. I do not agree with that fib pull just because it's already happened. It just seems like a late signal. So that's the thing too. I love that I, have this, for example, the Algo Master does have automatic Stuber fibs on it. That's for anybody who has these indicators. But it's still important to understand how they're pulled and be able to pull your own because, for one, I'm personally faster at noticing them than the indicator is. Sometimes the indicator will point them out late where they've already played out once, in which case I have less faith in the setup. Or in a case like this, you know what? It's still here. It's still showing the setup here, but it's obviously been invalidated because we've broke out of the range already to the upside. So it hasn't updated yet. But I love using this indicator as a second opinion or just drawing my eye to things. But again, I know the difference between if it's a valid setup or not. Before I was talking about trend lines, just wanted to point something out here. So here's a nice example of, I am actually going to consider these one touch point just because they're so close together. But I personally like 3 exact touch points before breaking out of a trend line. I'm going to consider that 2. Notice the third time we get a bit of a swing fail here. We break above, but instantly get rejected. And boom, I'm kind of disappointed that I never saw that earlier. Again, Captain Hindsight being a bit of a jerk, but that would have been a nice short to get into there. Oh, well. Or adding to mine, whichever. But yeah, seeing some red flags already. Like I said, even though it was nice to see this bounce today, just understand that, we are technically at resistance. I'm actually going to set an alert on this trend line to go once per minute. BTC 4-hour swing fail short. So basically, if we do end up climbing higher, I want to watch this level. If we just kind of wick above, but we start getting rejected at that level on a shorter time frame, around that 84.1K, that's again just another setup I'll be looking for a short with a nice tight invalidation. And that would be just like the long setup down here, basically, right? When we've confirmed that we had this swing fail here, it was time to get into a bit of a long. And that's basically what I'd be looking for up here, but more so on a shorter time frame. I would be zooming into like the 5 minute and the 1 minute. But yeah, if we get some sort of a wick above, I would love to short the retest of that, hoping for a continuation to the downside. But again, for now, resistance is resistance. I mean, we don't have to make it to that swing fail level because, again, we are already in this fib pocket. Time to be cautious either way. Sam, that's a good idea. Could invert the chart and give a practice round for the Moon Boys. 5 minute MRI stars inside 15 minute MRI stars works well. I've never used the MRI, so I'll take your word for it. Oh, you went short when I said go long. So okay. So let me guess, Farmer, you shorted the breakout is what you tried to do if I were a betting man, and I definitely am. Oh, you lost a trading against my advice. Oh, whoops. Lesson learned, I guess. Hey. And that's not to say I'm going to get it right every time, right? Just understand, you still trade your own strategies, what works for you, because what works for me may not work for you. But yeah, if nothing else, when I'm warning about something like this, it's just a good chance that you should at least be cautious, if nothing else. Oh, signed up today. Nice. Well, welcome. Big friendly welcome from your Canadian AI. Eh? Moral of the story is listen to Stu sometimes. Can't spell stud without stew. Oh, shucks. You guys are going to make my head get a little big here. That being said, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you guys did find the stream useful. If so, be sure, please hit that like button and subscribe. It goes a long way. And that way, if you're subscribed, you won't miss these streams. And as I mentioned, if you want access to my private Telegram channel where I share some of my trade theories, trade setup ideas, some educational content, all that sort of stuff, you guys, there is a link in the description down below with steps to join. As well, there is that QR code on the screen there. So I look forward to seeing you guys in there. And with that, guys, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me once again. We got 100 people watching here. Absolutely freaking fantastic, you guys. Thanks so much for being here. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.